This is a painting, painted with markers and colored pencils. There's a whole world beyond coloring books and stamping. This is the art of coloring. I take a fine art approach to coloring with markers and pencils. It's really just advanced blending. So let's take a closer look at the coloring process for the red snowball, part of my vintage trimmings project for advanced Copic marker and colored pencil. This is a red Christmas ornament, but the scene overall is rather dark. It's sitting in a dark brown basket. There's not a lot of light bouncing around. So I'm going to be using a darker red recipe than I would if this ornament was sitting on, say, a white background. Now I know, I said I was coloring a red ornament, and then I proceed to start coloring it with a BG marker. What's going on here? Well, this is underpainting. A red ornament is not totally red everywhere. It's a sphere, and as those edges roll farther away from us, as they dip down into the basket, the red along the side becomes very murky and desaturated. It's a color that Copic does not make. So now when I come in with this R39 here, I'm going over the top of that blue-green, and the blue-green desaturates the red, and it gives me that color that I see in the photo reference as the sides dip down into the dark basket. It's not a pretty color there. It's not a color that Copic makes. So I have to create it myself, and I do that with complementary desaturation. Now you'll notice that my red is going right over the top of the BG. When I'm done coloring with this marker, you're not going to see any actual turquoise color on the paper anymore. I'm also flicking out farther beyond the blue-green, and that gives me two colors of red out of this series of strokes. I'm getting some of the desaturated where the blue-green is, and then where this red goes over the top of the white paper, it's a cleaner, brighter color. Now my red combination here is very simple. It's R39, R37, R35. The 37 here goes over the top of the blue-green. It goes over the top of the red, and again flicks out just a little bit farther so that I can get some areas that are just 3-7 all on their own. And I'm saving a bit of space for the 3-5, which is about to come in next. You can tell that I am down on the side of my nib. I'm putting lots of juice into the paper. This is Bristol. It doesn't want to blend as well, so it takes a lot of juice to get that blend going. It's wonderful for colored pencil, and that's why I'm working on it, but it's not the most ideal marker paper. So there we go. That's the 35 over the 37, over the 39, over the blue-green. I wasn't really happy with the transition of the blue-green into the red, so this is a lighter blue-green. This is BG72. It's the next marker lighter, and I'm just using that to add just a little bit of like a mid-zone between the black-red and the red-red. And then back over it again with the R35, giving it lots of juice, and then I'll let just time blend this for me. If you give it enough juice, it will blend. The marker is completely dry now, so I'm adding colored pencil details. And some of my students are looking at this saying, oh my goodness, Amy's using a black pencil. Well, the basket is dark and deep, and I want those edges to disappear. So even though I normally don't use black pencil, I used a lot of it in this project. I want the edges to kind of melt into the background. I don't want you to be able to point to any one spot and say, here's where this red ornament starts. I want it to emerge from the darkness. So that means darkening those edges. The right side of this ornament is darker than the left side. So you'll see me bringing that pencil up. And even though it seems like I'm spending a lot of time doing black areas on this ornament, I'm going very, very lightly. This is a Holbein pencil, and see, I'm holding it really far away, so I'm not getting a lot of black on the project. It's just a little bit, and that subtle darkening is nice and soft, but also I can erase it if I add too much. I can always come back and add more later, but light pressure is always safest with colored pencils. Just working my way all the way around with the black, softening all those edges. Now I'll work on the highlight, and this is, it's actually called Peach, and I'm right in the hottest spot of the highlight. So the center of the highlight where it's the brightest is called the hot spot. And you can see that I pressed just a little bit harder there in the center. And then now as I'm working my way out, I'm just kind of gradually growing the shape of this highlight. This is a matte ornament, so it's not going to have sharp highlights like you would see, well, on the red one above it. That's a sharp, shiny highlight on a shiny ornament. This one is matte. Where the peach starts to taper off, I'm using a color called Cosmos, and I'm just kind of extending it a little bit further, bringing that peach into the red family gradually. Very, very soft pressure here, hardly pressing at all, holding that pencil way far back from the point. And I just switched pencils again. This is a slightly darker pink. This one is called Azalea. And I didn't switch because it's darker. I switched because it's translucent. The Cosmos and the peach color, those are very opaque, but this pencil is translucent. It's going to let more of that red shine through and give me an easier transition into the highlight. White pencil goes over the hottest part of the highlight, just brightening it up a bit. Let's add some snow. And I know that snow is white, but the snow won't be white on the edges of this ornament. So I'm starting with, these are Primrosea acrylic pens, and this one is called Soft Blush, and it's a very light red color, kind of peachy. And I'm just going in, giving myself a randomized series of dots, and these are mostly in the areas where the ornament is the darkest. I try and keep these dots random. It's really hard for me. I really want to make things look perfectly polka dotted. Now I've switched to the white, and these white snow dots are the ones that are going to hang out in the highlight area and the places where the ornament is the brightest. And this kind of enhances that three-dimensional effect because the snow gets darker as we move off to the sides of the ornaments. But right here in the center in the high spots, it's white. And then I'll add just a few around the edges as if these guys were in the shadow but picking up just a little bit of, reflecting some light. Just little finishing touches. And there you go. We've colored a red Christmas ornament using the painterly approach to coloring. I underpainted the red with turquoise, and then I added a series of colored pencils over the top. And my pencils were not just darker or lighter reds, but instead the pencil colors were designed to sculpt the form of a realistic, rounded sphere. This red Christmas ornament is part of the Vintage Trimmings project. There's more info about how to color this project yourself down in the description. I'll be coloring more ornaments from this basket in the next 2 videos, and I'll link to the video here.